Welcome to the Great Basin Smoke Dispersion Briefing for Friday, January 17th. Over the last 30 days, we've seen precipitation move across the Great Basin, especially in the north and over eastern and southern areas, with some drier spots over western and central Nevada into western Utah. Looking at our snowfall over the last 72 hours, we did have a storm system move into the western half of the Great Basin. This brought some new snowfall, especially to the higher terrain of the Sierra, where we saw several inches up towards 6 to 10 inches of new snowfall. We also saw snowfall move its way across northern Nevada into Idaho and far northern Utah and western Wyoming. Looking at our snow depth, you can see the image on the right. However, our snowpack shows a better picture of our relation to normal. We are seeing near to just above normal snowpack over much of Utah into southern areas of the Great Basin, and areas closer to normal over parts of northern Nevada and Wyoming, but still some areas below normal into the Sierra and over parts of central Idaho. The Evaporative Demand Drought Index shows no significant drought concerns across the Great Basin, but you can see some of those drier spots that we've been seeing recently over parts of western and central Nevada into western Utah. The satellite image from this morning shows that trough of low pressure now moving over central areas of the Great Basin as it moved through western areas yesterday, and it will be moving through the eastern side of the Great Basin today, keeping those heavier snow showers over the eastern half of the region going today, where we may see several new inches of new snow, also a little bit higher amounts in the higher elevations of northern Utah up into Wyoming. Looking at the weather pattern for later today and tonight, as that system tracks eastward, it will push most of the weather through the eastern side of the Great Basin today. We are not seeing any windy conditions really over western areas, so expecting poor dispersion. But as that system moves through today, we will see those windier conditions continue across much of Utah, and this will keep dispersion a little bit higher. And you can see those transport winds in the image on the left, showing those stronger winds, especially in the higher terrain of the Utah mountains and also up into Wyoming. And mixing heights will generally be around average. Looking at Saturday, we will see a ridge of high pressure start to move into the Great Basin, so we will see some slight warming, also a decrease in winds and a decrease in precipitation. We may still see some showers over parts of Idaho on Saturday, but otherwise lighter winds and poor dispersion region-wide. You can see those transport winds in the image on the left, generally light region-wide, and mixing heights will be decreasing as we move through the day on Saturday as that ridge settles in. On Sunday, that ridge of high pressure starts to move eastward, mainly over central areas of the Great Basin, so still expecting drier conditions, lighter winds, and poor dispersion. We'll likely start to see some clouds increase over western areas, but right now not seeing much in the way of precipitation through the weekend. Again, lighter winds region-wide, and we will see low mixing heights over much of the region. Looking at the forecast clearing index for Utah for the next few days, as those winds are elevated today, we will see high clearing indices statewide, but those will decrease substantially on Saturday and Sunday as that ridge moves in with the lighter winds. So again, very low clearing indices through the weekend. The 3-day amounts of precipitation show this next storm, or this current storm, moving across the eastern half of the Great Basin today and showing those precipitation amounts generally over a quarter of an inch, especially in the higher terrain. So we are looking at that 6 to 10 inches of snow or so in the higher terrain with a little bit lesser down low. As we move into next week, we will see a storm system move into the Great Basin again, so we will start to see some precipitation develop earlier on Monday over western areas and northern areas of the Great Basin, and then push eastward by Monday night. We may see a little bit in the way of gusty winds over parts of western Nevada as this system moves in, so dispersion may increase a little bit in those areas, but for the most part, generally poor dispersion. On Tuesday, that system continues to track through, so we will continue to see that precipitation, especially over the eastern half of the region on Tuesday. This is another cold system, so it will bring snow to low elevations as well as up into the mountains. We will see a little bit stronger wind flow on Tuesday, however, so we will see a little bit better dispersion across Nevada into western Utah. And by Wednesday, this system starts to exit into the central Rockies, so we will start to see some drier conditions later in the day on Wednesday. We also will see some gusty north winds as this system exits, so we will see dispersion improve almost region-wide on Wednesday. By Thursday, we have another system starting to push in, so we will start to see some clouds and maybe showers in the north, and those gusty winds keep dispersion higher over southern areas of the Great Basin. The forecast amount of precipitation from Monday through Wednesday is shown here, so you can see as those next two systems move in, we will see additional precipitation to much of the Great Basin. The only area that may stay on the drier side will be southern areas and possibly into parts of western Nevada. Looking at the 8 to 14 day outlook, taking us from January 24th through the end of the month, you can see generally cooler than normal temperatures are expected, especially over the eastern half of the Great Basin, and still continuing this wetter pattern with storms moving through every so often through the end of the month. This will continue to keep our snowpack higher and temperatures cooler across the region. That concludes our webcast for today. Check back on Monday for the latest updates.